Have you ever woken up in the morning feeling strangely exhausted even after a full night's sleep, looked down at your feet and noticed they're a little swollen, then brushed it off and told yourself, it's just age? What if I told you that feeling isn't normal, aging at all, but a quiet warning from your kidneys that something you're eating every single day may already be damaging them right now? I'm Dr. Mark Ellis, and you need to listen very carefully because this is urgent. Right now, millions of adults over 50 are unknowingly harming their kidneys with foods they believe are healthy foods, doctors, gyms, and even family members often recommend without hesitation. The most dangerous part is this kidney damage doesn't scream at whispers. There is no sharp pain, no sudden collapse, just subtle signs like fatigue, foamy urine, or swelling that most people ignore until the damage is advanced. And by then, dialysis is no longer a distant fear. It's a real conversation in a doctor's office. Here's what makes this especially frightening. Every night while you sleep, your kidneys are working nonstop to filter toxic waste created by the protein you eat. And if that protein is the wrong type, or simply too much for your aging kidneys to handle, it's like forcing a worn-out filter to strain a poison hour after hour, day after day, until it begins to tear from the inside. Many people only discover this when their creatinine suddenly spikes or protein starts leaking into their urine long after the damage has quietly taken root. But stay with me because this is not a message of fear without hope. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly which proteins are silently destroying kidney function in people over 50. And more importantly, which specific protein choices can actually protect your kidneys. Lower creatinine and give these vital organs the breathing room they need to keep working for decades longer. And if you think this information doesn't apply to you, the next few minutes may completely change how you look at your next meal. Let me explain what's really happening inside your body, because once you understand this mechanism, everything else in this video will suddenly make sense. Every time you eat protein, your body breaks it down into amino acids to build muscle and repair tissue. That part is normal. The problem begins with what's left behind. Excess protein creates waste products like urea, uric acid, and phosphate substances that must be filtered out of your blood or they become toxic. And that job falls entirely on your kidneys. Inside each kidney are millions of microscopic filters called glomeruli. Think of them as ultrafine strainers designed to clean your blood gently and efficiently. But when protein waste floods your bloodstream day after day, those filters are forced to work under abnormally high pressure. I often explain it to patients like this. Imagine using the same paper coffee filter every morning, but instead of 1 scoop of coffee, you pour in 5 or 6. At first it seems fine. Then tiny holes appear, and eventually the filter tears. That's exactly what happens inside your kidneys. Under constant pressure, the glomeruli begin to weaken. Microscopic leaks form, allowing valuable proteins, especially albumin, to spill into your urine. This is why you may notice foamy urine. It's not harmless, it's protein loss. And once protein leakage begins, kidney function starts declining faster than most people realize. I want to share a quick example. A 58-year-old patient once told me, Dr. Ellis, I eat clean. Chicken shakes high protein every day. His creatinine kept rising. His GFR kept falling. He wasn't sick. He wasn't careless. He was simply overwhelming kidneys that could no longer keep up. Studies confirm this pattern. Research published in the Journal of the American Society of Nephrology shows that high protein intake significantly increases intraglomerular pressure, accelerating kidney damage in adults over 50, especially those with even mild undiagnosed kidney decline. And here's the part most people never hear. Protein doesn't just create waste, it creates acid. Animal protein in particular produces sulfuric acid during digestion. Your kidneys must work even harder to neutralize this acid to keep your blood stable. Over time, this constant acid load damages kidney tissue, reduces filtration efficiency, and pushes creatinine levels higher, often without obvious symptoms. So, if you've ever wondered why your labs don't improve even though you're eating healthy, this may be the reason. Your kidneys aren't failing suddenly. They're being worn down quietly, night after night, meal after meal. And this is only the foundation of the problem. Because once you understand how protein overload damages the kidney filter itself, the next question becomes far more uncomfortable. What if some of the foods you were told were the most nourishing are actually the ones applying the greatest pressure? And that's where things get truly dangerous, because the first category most people never suspect is hiding in plain sight. But knowing this mechanism alone isn't enough, because there is another factor that's even more damaging, and almost everyone overlooks it. Now that you understand how protein overload physically damages the kidney's filters, this next part may surprise you, because the danger doesn't always come from junk food. In fact, it often comes from foods people proudly call traditional nutrient-dense, or even medicine for the blood. I'm talking about organ meats, liver, heart, kidney, tripe, foods many older adults were raised to believe are strengthening and restorative. Here's the hidden problem. Organ meats are extremely high in purines. When purines are metabolized, they turn into uric acid. And uric acid doesn't just float harmlessly in your blood, it raises filtration pressure inside the glomeruli, forcing your kidney filters to strain harder with every heartbeat. Over time, this pressure accelerates microscopic damage, increases the risk of kidney stones, and worsens protein leakage into urine. I remember a patient in his early 60s who ate beef liver twice a week because his parents taught him it was good for energy and blood. His labs told a different story: rising uric acid, persistent foamy urine, creatinine slowly creeping up despite cutting sugar and salt. When we removed organ meats from his diet, his uric acid dropped within weeks, and his proteinuria began to stabilize. Nothing else changed, just that one habit. Science backs this up. A large cohort study published in Clinical Journal of the American Society of Nephrology found that high purine diets were strongly associated with increased uric acid levels and faster decline in kidney function, particularly in adults over 50. Even more concerning, elevated uric acid has been shown to trigger inflammation inside the kidney's microblood vessels, compounding the damage already caused by protein overload. This is what makes organ meats so deceptive. Yes, they are rich in iron and vitamins, but for aging kidneys, the metabolic cost is far too high. What nourishes one system can quietly destroy another. And because the damage happens slowly, most people never connect their healthy tradition with worsening lab results. And here's where this becomes even more unsettling. If a food long praised for strength and vitality can quietly strain your kidneys like this, what about foods you eat far more often? Foods you still believe are safe because everyone around you eats them without question. Because once organ meats are removed from the picture, the next category applies pressure in a different, even more relentless way. And it's something many people consume several times a week without hesitation. But knowing this alone still isn't enough, because there is another factor that's even more dangerous, and almost everyone overlooks it. If organ meats apply sudden pressure to the kidneys through uric acid, red meat creates a slower, more relentless kind of damage, one that fools people into thinking they're doing everything right. Many of my patients say the same thing: Dr. Ellis, I don't eat junk, I grill steak, I choose lean cuts, I avoid sugar. And yet their creatinine doesn't move. Their GFR keeps slipping. This is where red meat quietly enters the picture. Red meat carries a heavy acid load. During digestion, it produces sulfuric acid that your kidneys must neutralize to keep your blood chemistry stable. In younger bodies, this buffering system can cope. But after 50, kidney reserve naturally declines. That means every steak, every burger, every clean beef dinner forces aging kidneys to work overtime, especially at night when blood flow slows and filtration efficiency drops. The damage doesn't feel dramatic, it feels invisible. One patient story stands out. A 55-year-old woman followed a textbook, healthy plan: grilled beef 3 nights a week, vegetables on the side, no processed food. Her labs stubbornly refused to improve. When we replaced red meat with lighter protein sources for just 6 weeks, her creatinine finally began to trend down. Nothing magical happened. Her kidneys simply weren't being acid attacked every evening anymore. The science explains why. Data from the Nurses' Health Study showed that higher red meat intake was associated with a significantly increased risk of chronic kidney disease progression, even after adjusting for weight, blood pressure, and diabetes. Researchers linked this to chronic low-grade inflammation and sustained intraglomerular pressure, exactly the kind of stress that accelerates kidney decline without obvious warning signs. This is why red meat is so misleading. It feels nourishing. It looks wholesome. But for vulnerable kidneys, it acts like a nightly endurance test they were never meant to pass. And if you've ever wondered why your labs worsen despite clean eating, this may be the missing piece you've been overlooking. And here's the uncomfortable bridge to what comes next. If a food praised for strength can quietly sabotage kidney recovery, imagine the impact of foods that combine protein with something even more aggressive, something that spikes blood pressure, stiffens kidney vessels, and amplifies damage far faster than acid alone. But knowing this still isn't enough, because there is another factor that's even more dangerous, and almost everyone overlooks it. If red meat strains the kidneys slowly through acid and inflammation, processed meats accelerate the damage in a far more aggressive and far more common way. This is the category I worry about the most, because people don't eat it once a month. They eat it casually, repeatedly, and often without guilt. Bacon at breakfast, ham in a sandwich, sausages, hot dogs, deli meats. Small portions, frequent exposure. And that combination is exactly what makes processed meat the most dangerous protein for aging kidneys. The first problem is sodium. Processed meats are loaded with hidden salt far beyond what most people realize. Excess sodium sharply increases blood pressure inside the kidney's tiny filtering units, forcing the glomeruli to filter under constant high pressure. Over time, this pressure stiffens and scars the delicate blood vessels that supply your kidneys, reducing their ability to clean the blood efficiently. You may not feel it happening, but your kidneys do. I once treated a man in his late 60s who couldn't understand why his kidney numbers kept worsening. He didn't eat steak, he avoided fried foods, but every morning he ate 2 slices of bacon and a sausage because it was just breakfast. When we removed processed meats completely, his blood pressure stabilized and his kidney function stopped declining within 3 months. Not improved overnight, but no longer falling. Sometimes stopping the damage is the first step toward recovery. The second problem is even more insidious: nitrates and preservatives. These chemicals damage the lining of blood vessels, including those inside the kidneys. Research published in the Journal of Renal Nutrition showed that frequent consumption of processed meats was associated with a significantly faster decline in eGFR and higher rates of proteinuria independent of total protein intake. In other words, it's not just the protein, it's what comes with it. Processed meats act like a perfect storm: protein waste, extreme sodium load, and vascular toxins all hitting the kidneys at once. And because these foods are marketed as convenient and affordable, they quietly become daily habits that speed kidney decline without raising immediate alarms. This is why so many people are shocked when their labs suddenly worsen out of nowhere. And here's the critical transition. If processed meats damage the kidneys by attacking blood pressure and blood vessels directly, then the next food is even more deceptive because it looks gentle, comforting, and healthy on the surface. Many people consume it daily, believing it supports bones and strength, never realizing it increases kidney workload precisely when the kidneys are supposed to rest. But knowing this still isn't enough, because there is another factor that's even more dangerous, and almost everyone overlooks it. After hearing about sodium preservatives and vascular damage, many people breathe a sigh of relief and think, at least milk is safe. It feels gentle, familiar, almost medicinal. For decades, whole milk has been associated with strong bones recovery and comfort, especially for older adults who grew up being told a glass of milk before bed was a healthy habit. But this is where intention and physiology quietly part ways. The hidden issue isn't calcium, it's casein. Casein is a slow, heavy protein that becomes increasingly difficult to digest and process after age 50. When you drink whole milk, especially in the evening, casein releases amino acids gradually over many hours. That might sound beneficial for muscle, but for aging kidneys, it means prolonged filtration demand during the very time your kidneys are meant to rest and repair. Instead of a break, they're forced into overtime through the night. I've seen this pattern repeatedly. A retired teacher in her early 60s told me she drank warm whole milk every night to sleep better and protect her bones. Her creatinine stayed stubbornly high. Her morning urine often looked foamy. When we replaced whole milk with lighter alternatives and adjusted timing, her nighttime swelling improved within weeks. Her labs didn't change overnight, but the constant nightly strain was finally removed. Research helps explain why. Studies on dairy protein metabolism show that casein increases nitrogen waste and phosphate load over extended periods. In adults with reduced kidney reserve, this can elevate nocturnal filtration pressure and worsen protein leakage. One analysis in nephrology dialysis transplantation linked high full-fat dairy intake with faster kidney function decline in older populations, particularly when consumed regularly at night. This is why whole milk is so deceptive. It doesn't feel aggressive like processed meat. It doesn't look inflammatory like red meat. But it quietly extends kidney workload into the hours when recovery should happen. And when this habit is repeated night after night, the cumulative damage adds up faster than most people realize. And here's the crucial turning point. If foods that feel nourishing, comforting, and familiar can still push kidneys toward failure, then the real question becomes this: what should you eat instead? What proteins actually protect kidney filters, lower creatinine, and give your body strength without sacrifice? Because knowing what to avoid is only half the story. But knowing that alone still isn't enough, because there is another factor that's even more dangerous, and almost everyone overlooks it. If you've made it this far, I want you to know something important. You're not too late and you're not powerless. Kidney damage doesn't happen overnight and recovery doesn't either. But the kidneys respond remarkably well when they are finally given relief instead of constant pressure. Small, consistent changes in what you eat, how you prepare food, and when you give your body rest can slow decline, stabilize creatinine, and in many cases help preserve kidney function far longer than most people are told is possible. I also want you to understand that I don't share this information to scare you. I share it because I care. Too many people only learn these truths after their options have narrowed. If this video helped you see your health more clearly, please save it so you can come back to it and share it with someone you love who may be over 50 and quietly struggling without realizing why. And make sure you subscribe to this channel because we regularly share clear science-based medical insights designed to help you protect your kidneys, your energy, and your independence as you age. Most of all, remember this: your kidneys are not fragile by nature. They're resilient when treated with understanding. Every thoughtful choice you make today gives them a better chance tomorrow. Stay curious, stay informed, and stay hopeful. Your health story is still being written, and with the right knowledge, it can be a much stronger one than you ever expected.